I won't touch you until you beg me to, the man said, voice cutting through the silence like ice. But understand this.
You have
You have
1 year to
1
carry my
year to
child.
carry my child. If you fail, I'll personally deliver your brother to my enemies. They'll make sure he suffers slowly. Chioma froze in the center of the sleek penthouse bedroom, Seoul's skyline glittering behind floor-to-ceiling windows that felt more like walls closing in. She was 20 years old. She'd never been kissed. Marriage, in her mind, meant building something together, not being purchased like merchandise. Across the room, her husband leaned against the window, arms crossed, watching her like a predator sizing up prey, detached, calculating, already treating her like an investment he'd made. Your uncle sealed the agreement. My syndicate requires continuity. Your family needs survival. This arrangement serves both interests. Her passport sat locked in his safe. Her phone had been wiped and replaced with one he controlled. Her body no longer felt like her own. It was leverage in a deal she'd never signed. In her pocket, Chioma touched the small cloth bundle her mother had pressed into her palm at the airport, something she hadn't dared open yet. Her mother's eyes had been desperate, knowing, protective. As Kang Min-ho straightened and began walking toward her, each footstep deliberate and measured, Chioma understood something that made her blood run cold. This marriage wasn't about partnership, it was about ownership. And if she couldn't give him what he demanded, the people she loved most would pay with their lives. But Chioma had one advantage, something even her uncle didn't know about, and it could either save her or destroy everything. This story pulls no punches. If you're already invested, show some love. Hit that like button and subscribe for more intense romance narratives that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Drop a comment telling me where you're tuning in from. I love connecting with viewers worldwide. Now, let's dive back in. 6 days before everything changed, Chioma Okafor celebrated her 20th birthday in her uncle's cramped apartment in Lagos. Her younger brother Emeka hung homemade decorations, crude drawings that read "Future Doctor" in bright crayon, her dream rendered in childish help. Her mother, Ngozi, prepared jollof rice and meat pie with ingredients that stretched their already tight budget. Every grain of rice represented sacrifice and love despite poverty. "Make your wish, my precious girl," her uncle said, and there was something heavy in his voice she couldn't identify yet. University of Lagos medical program, a clinic of my own someday, a future I control. She blew out the candles. Her mother watched from the doorway, hands clasped together, eyes glistening with something that looked disturbingly like grief. Then someone knocked. 3 hard raps that killed the laughter instantly. 2 men in expensive suits entered like death wearing designer labels. They placed an envelope on the worn table with deliberate precision. "Miss Chioma Okafor, your presence is required in Seoul, South Korea. Your uncle has finalized a binding contract on your behalf." Inside, passport, visa, one-way ticket, marriage certificate to someone named Kang Min-ho. "Uncle, what is this?" Uncle Chike couldn't meet her gaze. His hands trembled as he gripped the table's edge hard enough to turn his knuckles white. "They were going to kill Emeka, the Black Lotus Syndicate. They've been circling us for months. I borrowed money I had no way to repay. They showed me surveillance photos of Emeka, his school, his route home, every vulnerable moment. So you traded me like cattle." I secured his survival. His voice cracked with the weight of it. "Kang Min-ho is powerful beyond measure. You'll live in luxury most people can't imagine. You'll never want for anything material." "I don't want material things, Uncle. I want my life, my education, my choices, my future." "You want to live?" he shouted, losing control, "because the alternative is watching Emeka disappear one night, watching him be used, destroyed, sold. The calculation is brutal. One niece's freedom for one nephew's life, one sacrifice to save one innocent." The room tilted. Her mother sobbed into her apron. Her uncle's face was a mask of guilt and desperation. That night, Chioma lay next to Emeka one final time. Her brother, only 13, whispered into the darkness, "Will you ever see me again?" "I honestly don't know." Her mother came after Emeka fell asleep. She pressed the cloth bundle into Chioma's palm with trembling fingers that held unexpected strength. "These are herbs from our village," she whispered in Igbo, voice barely audible. "They give you power when men try to strip it away from you. They give you options when men try to eliminate them. Instructions are inside. Read them only in complete privacy. Trust no one in that place, not even the man you'll have to call husband." "Mama, what do they do exactly?" Her mother's eyes held ancient knowledge passed down through generations. "They let you control what happens inside your own body when someone tries to control it for you. They give you protection. Remember, my daughter, they can own papers, but they can never own your soul, not unless you surrender it willingly." 24 hours of flying felt like dying incrementally. Watched Nigeria disappear beneath clouds and ocean, everything I knew and everyone I loved shrinking to nothing. At Incheon International Airport, a woman waited holding a sign with her name in perfect English letters. "I am Miss Lee. I oversee Mr. Kang's household operations and personal matters. You will address him Sir or by his title at all times. Never use his given name unless explicitly granted permission." The woman was cold, efficient, striking in an intimidating way. Her English was flawless, her contempt for Chioma barely masked. The drive into Seoul revealed a city of impossible lights and steel towers, breathtaking and suffocating simultaneously. Skyscrapers pierced clouds like crystal knives. Everything moved at speeds that made her dizzy. "Rules," Miss Lee said without glancing at her passenger. "Never leave the residence without explicit permission. Never contact your family without prior approval. Never speak to any media representatives in any capacity whatsoever. Never ask questions about his business operations, and try not to look so terrified. It's unbecoming for a Kang family wife." What exactly is expected of me? Miss Lee's laugh was sharp and cruel. "Incubator, living proof of his power and global reach, a symbol demonstrating that Kang Min-ho can acquire absolutely anything he desires, even a young African bride to add to his collection. Oh, and mother to his heir eventually. That's your primary function, of course. I'm a human being with thoughts and feelings. You're a contractual obligation that happens to have a pulse. The sooner you internalize that reality, the easier your existence will be." The Kang residence wasn't a home. It was a compound. High walls topped with security measures, cameras positioned every few meters, armed guards in dark suits patrolling constantly. Inside, everything screamed minimalist wealth: white marble floors, ceiling-to-floor windows, abstract art that probably cost more than her uncle's lifetime earnings. "Mr. Kang is finishing business matters. The wedding ceremony begins in 90 minutes. 90 minutes? I just endured 24 hours of travel. You need to do exactly what you're instructed. The stylist is waiting upstairs." The wedding hanbok was crimson silk embroidered with gold thread, traditional Korean beauty, exquisite in the way a gilded cage can be exquisite. The jade jewelry felt like shackles despite its obvious value. Stared at her reflection and saw a ghost wearing her face, someone she no longer recognized. The door opened without warning. Kang Min-ho entered like he owned not just the space, but the oxygen inside it. Early 40s, tall, built like controlled violence wrapped in a $10,000 suit. His face was all sharp angles and colder calculation, eyes dark as midnight. Gray streaked his temples despite his age, as if stress or ruthlessness had marked him early. He studied her the way collectors study acquisitions, assessing value, cataloging flaws, calculating return on investment. "You're younger than the contract specified. My uncle said I was 23. Your uncle says whatever protects his survival instinct." Something flickered behind his eyes, not quite amusement, not quite contempt, something harder to classify. "Your actual age?" 20. Silence stretched between them like a physical barrier. He moved behind her, and every muscle in her body tensed. From a velvet case, he produced a necklace, diamonds and black pearls that probably cost a fortune. His hands were clinical as he fastened it around her throat, efficient, barely touching her skin, but close enough that she felt his heat radiating. "This belonged to my grandmother. Every Kang wife has worn it for 3 generations. You'll wear it tonight and at every public appearance. It identifies you as mine, as family property." Do I have any choice in this? His eyes met hers in the mirror with an expression that froze her blood. No, neither of us has choices anymore. I need an heir to secure my position. You need your brother alive. We both fulfill our obligations. That's the arrangement. That's not marriage. That's ownership, slavery with paperwork. Call it whatever helps you sleep at night. The contract is legally binding. The money has been transferred. You belong to me for the next year minimum. After you provide a child, we can discuss renegotiating terms. He moved toward the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. For whatever it's worth, I don't enjoy coercing women into anything, but my organization requires certain assurances for stability. A son secures my leadership position permanently. Your cooperation secures your brother's continued breathing. Simple transaction with mutual benefits. I'm not a transaction. I'm a person with a life. In my world, Miss Okafor, everyone is a transaction eventually. The sooner you accept that fundamental truth, the less you'll suffer unnecessarily. If you're feeling the weight of Chioma's situation, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment telling me your location. I love seeing our international community grow. Now, let's continue this journey. The wedding was traditional Korean, conducted in a private room with perhaps 20 people present. Chioma understood absolutely nothing. Not the words, not the rituals, not the meaning behind each bow and gesture. She was a prop in a ceremony performed in a language she couldn't speak, a culture she didn't understand. When they had to drink from the ceremonial cup, Kang Min-ho's hand was rock steady. Hers trembled so violently she nearly dropped it. The officiant pronounced them married in Korean. Min-ho turned to her, and for one heartbeat, she thought he might kiss her. Instead, he pressed his lips to her forehead, cold, brief, dismissive, like one might kiss a child or a possession rather than a wife. Then he simply left. Stood alone in wedding clothes, listening to her new reality settle around her like snow that would never melt. The penthouse had 14 rooms and felt like a beautiful prison. Wandered aimlessly, discovering locked doors everywhere, cameras in every corner monitoring constantly, windows that were sealed shut. Miss Lee appeared and disappeared like a judgmental ghost, always watching, always criticizing silently. Min-ho was absent most of the time. When he was present, he barely acknowledged her beyond cold politeness at breakfast. He read Korean newspapers, took phone calls in multiple languages she couldn't identify, disappeared into his study for endless hours. At night, she heard him playing piano, the same haunting melody repeating like a prayer or perhaps a curse. On the fourth night, Miss Lee appeared at her door carrying a bottle of pills. Prenatal vitamins. You'll take one every morning with breakfast without exception. I'm not pregnant yet. Not yet, but Mr. Kang plans ahead meticulously. He'll begin attempting conception in 3 days, once you've adjusted to the time difference properly. He prefers his wife to be well rested for conception attempts. The clinical nature of her words made Chioma's stomach turn violently. He's going to force me. Force is such an unpleasant word. You signed a contract. Well, your uncle did. He's simply fulfilling the agreed-upon terms. I suggest you don't resist. Mr. Kang doesn't appreciate complications in his plans. That night, Chioma finally opened her mother's bundle with shaking hands. Inside were dried herbs, small brown seeds, and folded paper with instructions written in careful English. My precious daughter, these herbs are ancient knowledge passed through our family. They don't prevent pregnancy entirely, but they give you control over the process. Mixed properly in tea, they regulate your cycle, mask your fertile periods, create uncertainty in timing. Men cannot force what they cannot track or predict. Use them wisely. Use them to survive this nightmare. Remember what I taught you. Mama stared at the herbs in her calm. They represented power in a powerless situation, control when everything was designed to strip control away. She hid them carefully in a place no one would think to look. He came to her room on the 7th night without warning. Chioma was attempting to read when the door opened without knocking. Minho stood in the doorway wearing dark silk pajamas, his expression completely unreadable. It's time. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard it hurt. Time for what exactly? Don't play naive games. You understand why you're here, what's expected. He moved into the room, closing the door behind him with deliberate finality. The contract specifies consummation and regular attempts at conception. I've given you a week to adjust to your new circumstances. That week is over now. I'm not ready for this. Ready is irrelevant to the situation. We have a binding agreement with specific terms. An agreement I never made myself. My uncle sold me like livestock. I never consented to any of this. He stopped moving. Something flickered in his eyes briefly. Your uncle accepted 500 million won and guaranteed protection from the Black Lotus Syndicate. In exchange, you provide me with an heir. Those are the terms everyone agreed to. I'm a human being, not a breeding animal. In my world, you're both simultaneously. He moved closer and she backed against the wall instinctively. I don't enjoy this any more than you do, but I need a son to secure my position in the organization permanently. My enemies are circling like predators. A legitimate heir stabilizes everything, eliminates vulnerabilities. Find someone else then. There is no one else. The contract is legally binding. Your brother's safety depends entirely on your cooperation with the terms. His voice dropped lower. I can make this pleasant for you or unpleasant. The choice is genuinely yours. Tears burned behind her eyes, threatening to fall. Please, please don't do this to me. For just a moment, something almost human crossed his face. Then it vanished, replaced by cold determination and resolve. I'll give you one additional night. Tomorrow, no more delays or negotiations. Do you understand? She nodded, unable to force words past the lump in her throat. He left without another word, and she collapsed onto the bed, shaking uncontrollably. That night, she brewed her mother's herbs into strong tea and drank every bitter drop. The next morning, Chioma woke before dawn, unable to breathe in that apartment, all glass and marble and suffocating wealth. She needed air, needed movement, needed to feel human again. Found the massive kitchen and began cooking desperately. Jollof rice, fried plantains, pepper soup with chicken she found in the industrial freezer. Familiar smells wrapped around her like her mother's embrace, like home. For the first time since arriving, she felt almost like herself again. She was humming an old Igbo song her mother taught her when she felt eyes watching. Minho stood in the doorway wearing rumpled sleep clothes, hair disheveled, feet bare, without his armor of expensive suits and cold authority. He looked younger somehow, almost vulnerable. What is that song? She stiffened immediately. A lullaby. My mother sang it to me as a child. It's beautiful, in a haunting way. He moved into the kitchen, drawn by the cooking smells. What are you making at this hour? Food from home. I couldn't sleep, needed something familiar. He said nothing at first, just watched her cook in the growing morning light. The silence stretched, but it felt different than before. Less hostile, more human somehow. My mother used to cook every morning, he said finally. Unexpectedly. Before she died. The smell of soy sauce and sesame oil would wake me from sleep. I'd come downstairs and she'd be singing off-key. Terrible voice, but it meant home, meant safety, meant love. His jaw tightened visibly. I haven't thought about that in years. Haven't let myself remember. How did she die? Murdered by my father's enemies when I was 17. She was caught in an assassination attempt meant for him. After that, he taught me that love is weakness incarnate, that attachments are liabilities that get you killed. that the only way to survive in this world is to never care about anything more than power and control. She turned off the stove and faced him directly. That's a terrible way to exist. It's the only way to survive in my world. Then maybe your world is fundamentally broken. His eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw something crack in his armor. Pain, loneliness, exhaustion that went bone deep. I don't know how to do this differently, he admitted quietly, voice almost vulnerable. This, he gestured between them, arrangement. I know it's cruel beyond measure. I know you're terrified constantly, but I don't know another way to function. My position requires an heir. My enemies use family as weapons against each other. This was the only solution I could conceive. The only solution, or just the easiest one? He flinched like she'd struck him. Maybe both. She plated the food and slid it across the counter toward him. Eat, then tell me the truth. Who are you really afraid of? Your enemies or yourself? He stared at the food, then at her with something like wonder. Then, to her complete surprise, he sat and picked up chopsticks. They ate in silence as dawn broke over Seoul in shades of gold and pink. Over the next 3 weeks, something shifted gradually between them. Minho didn't come to her room at night demanding anything. Instead, he came to the kitchen in the mornings, drawn by cooking smells and her humming. They talked cautiously at first, testing boundaries, then more openly, more honestly. She learned he'd inherited the organization at 26 when his father was assassinated in a power struggle, that he'd spent 15 years building walls around himself, eliminating threats methodically, becoming the monster everyone feared because it was the only path to survival he could see. I had a younger sister once, he told her one morning over coffee, voice distant with memory. Minji. She was sweet, gentle, everything I wasn't and couldn't be. She wanted to be a painter, create beautiful things. What happened to her? His hands tightened on his coffee cup until his knuckles went white. She fell in love with the wrong person, someone from a rival organization. I ordered her to end it immediately. She refused completely, said love was worth any risk. His voice cracked slightly. They killed her to send me a message about boundaries, cut her throat and left her body in my office. She was 24 years old. Minho. After that, I swore I'd never let anyone close again, never give them that leverage. Love is a weapon people use to destroy you. Caring is weakness that gets people killed horrifically. So I stopped caring. I became exactly what they all feared most. Ruthless, cold, untouchable, alone. And lonely, she added softly. He looked at her sharply. Loneliness is better than grief that never ends. Is it really? Or is loneliness just grief that never stops, never heals? The question hung between them like smoke. That afternoon, Miss Lee cornered Chioma in the hallway with barely concealed hostility. You're playing a dangerous game with him. I'm just making breakfast and talking. You're making him human again, making him vulnerable. That's dangerous for him and catastrophically dangerous for you. Mr. Kang's enemies watch constantly for any weakness. If they see he cares about you even slightly, you become a target immediately. The safest thing for both of you is to remain exactly what the contract specifies. Business arrangement, nothing more. Maybe I don't want to be safe. Maybe I want to be human, to live rather than just survive. Miss Lee's expression softened almost imperceptibly. Then you're either braver than I've ever been or more foolish than I can comprehend. I haven't decided yet. It happened without warning on a Tuesday night. The first window exploded inward, glass raining down like deadly diamonds. Gunfire erupted, sharp, terrifying, devastatingly real. Her door burst open violently. Minho grabbed her arm with bruising force, gun in his other hand, blood streaking his white dress shirt. Move right now. He pulled her through chaos and smoke. His security team fought desperately in the hallways. Bodies fell. Smoke filled the air, making breathing difficult. Her ears rang from gunshots echoing off marble. They reached a hidden panic room behind a bookshelf. Minho shoved her inside roughly, then followed, sealing the reinforced steel door behind them with an electronic lock. What's happening out there? Black Lotus Syndicate. They're making their move, trying to eliminate me. He was breathing hard, checking his gun's magazine with practiced efficiency. Blood dripped steadily from his shoulder onto the floor. You're hurt badly. It's superficial, nothing critical. You're bleeding through your entire shirt. That's not nothing by any definition. Chioma moved toward him with purpose. Do you have medical supplies in here? He gestured to a cabinet wordlessly. She retrieved the comprehensive first aid kit, her hand surprisingly steady despite the terror coursing through her system. Sit down now. Let me examine it. I'm perfectly fine to sit down. Something in her voice made him obey without further argument. She cut away his bloody shirt carefully, revealing a deep gash across his shoulder. Not a bullet wound, thankfully, but bad enough to need immediate attention. This needs stitches properly. Can you do it? I was supposed to study medicine, remember? But my mother taught me basic field medicine. Extended family, in a village with no hospital access. You learn to stitch wounds and set bones, or people die. She worked in focused silence, cleaning the wound thoroughly, her hands steady and sure despite everything. He watched her, something shifting in his expression that she couldn't quite identify. You're skilled at this. I'm skilled at many things I'll never get to develop. I was exceptional at biology, at chemistry, at diagnoses. I had a perfect GPA. I won a full scholarship to university to study medicine. I was going to open a clinic that served poor communities. Her hands trembled slightly. But I'll never know what I could have accomplished, will I? Because I'm here, instead, trapped in this nightmare. His hand caught hers gently, stopping her movement. Gunfire echoed distantly above them. The lights flickered ominously. I'm sorry, he said quietly, voice raw with emotion. For all of this. For stealing your future, for turning you into currency in a transaction you never agreed to, for destroying your dreams. Sorry doesn't give me back my life, my education, my choices. I know that, but... Her hands were gentle as she finished bandaging him properly, and when more gunfire erupted closer and he pulled her protectively close, she didn't resist this time. They sat in the darkness of the panic room for hours, listening to violence rage above them. Two people trapped in circumstances neither had chosen, but both had to survive. Minho's team secured the building by dawn, finally. 9 attackers dead, 4 of his men wounded seriously. The apartment was destroyed completely. Windows shattered everywhere, walls riddled with bullet holes, blood staining pristine marble floors. We're leaving immediately, Minho said, voice hard with decision. I have a secure property in Jeju Island. We'll relocate there until I eliminate this threat permanently. Within 3 hours, they were on a private plane heading south. The safe house was a traditional hanok nestled into mountains overlooking the ocean. Beautiful, isolated, peaceful, so different from the glass tower in Seoul. Why did you protect me? Chioma asked their first night there, watching waves crash against rocks. You could have left me, saved only yourself, let them take me as leverage. Minho stared into the fireplace, flames reflecting in his eyes. Because I know what it's like to lose everyone. My mother, my sister, everyone I've ever cared about has been taken from me violently. He paused. When those bullets started flying, all I could think was, not again, not her too. I couldn't let it happen again. But I'm just a contract to you. Just an obligation. Are you really? He turned to face her directly. If you were just a contract, I wouldn't lie awake thinking about your laugh. I wouldn't find myself watching you cook just to see you happy for a few moments. I wouldn't be terrified every single time you're out of my sight. Minho, I know what I am. I'm the monster who purchased you, who threatened your family, who planned to use you like an object to achieve my goals. I know exactly what that makes me. But being around you, hearing you sing those songs, watching you stand up to me without fear, seeing you stitch my wounds while bombs went off around us. He stopped, struggling with words. You make me remember there's more to existence than just survival, more than power and fear and control. You make me remember what being human feels like. You're still human, Minho, broken and scarred, but human. Am I? I've done terrible things, killed people without hesitation, destroyed lives for profit. Your uncle came to me because I'm the devil he knew well enough to fear. What kind of human does that make me? She moved closer to him. The kind who's still capable of change, of growth. If you weren't, you wouldn't be questioning yourself right now, wouldn't be examining your choices. He laughed bitterly. Change? Do you know what my second in command told me before we left Seoul? That showing any weakness by caring about you would get us both killed eventually. That the safest approach for everyone is to treat you exactly as the contract specifies, as a means to an end, nothing more. What did you tell him? That maybe it's time to stop being safe all the time. Maybe it's time to try being human again, even if it destroys me completely. The ocean crashed against rocks far below. Stars filled the sky impossibly bright above them. I want to give you a genuine choice, Minho said carefully. I'll arrange your passage back to Lagos immediately. I'll pay your uncle's remaining debts in full, no strings attached whatsoever. I'll fund your medical education anywhere you want to study. You'll be free of me, free of this contract, free to become the doctor you were meant to be. And if I stay? Then we start over completely. No ultimatums, no threats, no one-year deadline hanging over us. Just two people trying to figure out what we could become together without coercion. But it has to be your choice, Chioma, freely made without any pressure, no manipulation. Chioma pulled out her mother's cloth bundle. She'd been using the herbs faithfully, protecting herself, maintaining control over her own body. She could leave right now, start over, reclaim her stolen future completely. But she looked at Minho, broken, lonely, desperately trying to be better than what he'd become, and wondered if running was really the answer she wanted. Can I think about it carefully? Take all the time you need. There's no pressure. That night, she almost stared at the herbs and instructions in her hands. Control, safety, protection, everything her mother wanted for her daughter. But also isolation, walls, more prisons of her own making this time. She put them away again, unopened. 3 days into their stay, Minho received a phone call. He listened intently, his expression darkening like a storm cloud. "What is it?" Chioma asked, sensing the shift. The attack wasn't ordered by Black Lotus leadership. It was a rogue faction acting independently. But there's more. Someone inside my organization has been feeding them classified information. Someone extremely close to me. Miss Lee? He shook his head firmly. She's been with me for 12 years, absolutely loyal without question. But someone knew our exact security protocols, knew when guards changed shifts down to the minute. Someone wanted both of us dead specifically. Over the next week, Minho worked constantly from the safe house. Phone calls, video conferences, coordination with his remaining security team in Seoul. Watched him transform from the vulnerable man in the kitchen to the cold strategist everyone feared throughout the city. But at night, he was different with her. They talked for hours about everything imaginable. Her childhood in Lagos, his in Seoul, dreams they'd abandoned along the way, fears they still carried. Why medicine specifically? Minho asked over dinner. Because doctors save lives when everything else fails. Because you can help people who have nothing else, no other options. Because I wanted to make a difference that mattered, wanted to heal instead of hurt. You still can make that difference. Can I really? Even if we stay with you, even if we try to make this work somehow, I'm still the African wife of a Korean crime boss. Nobody will take me seriously in any professional capacity. Then we'll change that perception entirely. I'll fund a medical foundation in your name. You can operate clinics, train doctors, provide healthcare to communities that need it desperately. I have the resources, you have the vision and passion. We build something meaningful that outlasts us both. She stared at him in disbelief. You'd actually do that? I'd do anything to see you happy, anything to make up for what I've stolen from you. That night when he kissed her, it was soft, tentative, asking permission without demanding. When she kissed back, it was a choice. Maybe the first real choice she'd made since arriving in Korea. If this story is keeping you completely hooked, hit that like button and subscribe to Laura's Love Stories for more intense romance content. Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Now, let's continue to see what happens. The evidence came from an unexpected source, Minho's head of security, a man named Park. Sir, you need to see this immediately. Video footage showed someone entering Minho's private office in Seoul. The timestamp was 3 days before the attack. The person accessed his personal computer, downloaded files systematically, then left without triggering any alarms. The person was Miss Lee. No, Minho said flatly. That's impossible. She's been completely loyal for over a decade. Since your father rescued her from an abusive situation and brought her into the organization. Since she developed an obsessive attachment to him and after his death, transferred it entirely to you. She sees your African wife as direct competition for your attention and affection. She's been planning this for months. They found her private journals in a hidden apartment she maintained, page after page of obsessive devotion to Minho, violent hatred toward Chioma, detailed plans to eliminate the foreign interloper and position herself as his true partner, his real companion. She orchestrated the entire attack to kill Chioma and make you dependent on her again emotionally, Park explained carefully. She's been feeding information to your enemies for months, destabilizing your position gradually, creating chaos deliberately, all to make herself indispensable to you. Minho looked devastated, betrayed. I trusted her completely with everything. That's exactly what she counted on, what she exploited. The arrest was swift and efficient. Miss Lee didn't resist when they came. As they led her away in restraints, she looked at Chioma with pure, undiluted hatred burning in her eyes. He'll never truly love you, she spat. You're just his rebellion, his way of pretending he's not his father. But he is exactly like him. Eventually, he'll use you up like everything else in his life. Chioma met her gaze steadily without flinching. Maybe you're right, but at least I'll have chosen to stay, chosen to try. What did you choose except obsession and murder? They returned to Seoul 5 weeks later. The penthouse was completely repaired. New windows, new furniture, new security systems, but it felt fundamentally different, lighter somehow. I want to dismantle significant portions of the organization, Minho announced at a meeting with his leadership team. The protection rackets, the predatory loan operations, everything that hurts vulnerable people systematically. We'll focus on legitimate business exclusively. Import-export, real estate development, security consulting for corporations. You'll lose half your power and influence, one man objected strongly. Good. Power built on suffering isn't worth having or keeping. The other families will interpret it as weakness. Then let them try to move against me. I'm done building empires on broken people's backs. It cost him significantly. Allies became enemies overnight. His territory shrank dramatically, but he rebuilt, slowly, carefully, legitimately, over time. Money laundering transformed into charitable foundations. Protection rackets became actual security consulting services. He invested millions into community development in both Korea and Nigeria. Chioma enrolled in Seoul National University's pre-med program, oldest student in her cohort by several years, only African student, also within 1 semester, top of her entire class. How does it feel? Minho asked, watching her study medical textbooks at their dining table late one night. Like reclaiming stolen time, like becoming who I was always supposed to be. They repainted the entire penthouse in colors she chose, warm oranges and deep blues, African textiles displayed alongside Korean traditional art, 2 worlds blending, merging, creating something new. They weren't perfect by any measure. Arguments erupted about his violent past, her lingering fears and trauma, the coercion their relationship was built upon. Some days, old wounds ached unbearably, but they kept choosing each other consciously, deliberately, every single day. 18 months after her forced departure, Chioma returned to Lagos. Minho came with her without hesitation. Her family's compound looked identical but felt completely different to her now. Emeka had grown taller, more confident, less afraid. Her mother wept and held her for long minutes without speaking. My baby, my precious girl. Her uncle stood apart, shame written across every line of his face. Chioma. Uncle Chike looked older, grayer, somehow diminished. Chioma, his voice broke completely. I'm sorry. Every single day, I'm sorry. I thought I was saving Emeka. I thought you sold me to save him, Chioma interrupted calmly. The calculation was brutal, but I understand it now. 1 niece's freedom for 1 nephew's life. I understand why you did it. Can you ever forgive me for it? Chioma was quiet for a long time, considering carefully. Minho stood behind her, present but silent, letting her navigate this herself without interference. I can't forgive you, she said finally, honestly. Not completely, maybe never fully. But I understand why you made that choice in that moment, and I don't hate you anymore for it. That's the best I can offer right now. Her uncle nodded, tears streaming down his weathered face. It's far more than I deserve from you. They stayed 3 weeks. Chioma showed Minho her old neighborhood, her school, the places that shaped her into who she was. He was respectful, genuinely curious, authentically interested in understanding her fully. He met her mother, who studied him with penetrating eyes that seemed to see everything. You're the man who purchased my daughter like merchandise. Yes, ma'am, I am. And now? Now I'm the man trying to deserve her choosing to stay with me despite everything. Her mother gripped his wrist with surprising strength for her age. My daughter is brilliant, fierce, worthy of empires and more, if you ever hurt her again. I understand completely. There's nowhere your prayers and curses won't reach me. She smiles then, releasing him. Good, you're learning appropriately. Maybe there is genuine hope for you yet. Back in Seoul, Chioma realized she was late. 5 days late, then 7, then 10 days. She took the test in secret, hands trembling. 2 lines appeared. Positive. Pregnant. The thing Minho had demanded originally. The thing the contract had specified explicitly. The thing she'd been using her mother's herbs to prevent or at least control carefully. Except she hadn't used them in months now. She'd stopped after Jeju Island, after kissing him, after choosing to stay freely. The pregnancy wasn't forced. It was the result of choices they both made together freely. But terror flooded through her anyway, because this was permanent now, irreversible, a child that would bind them together forever. She sat with the secret for 3 days, trying to decide how she actually felt about it. Part of her was terrified. She was barely 22, still in university, still building a life from ruins. Part of her felt angry that even though the choice was hers, it still felt somehow like fulfilling the original contract's brutal terms. But part of her, a growing part, felt something else entirely. Hope, possibility, the chance to build a family completely different from the broken ones they'd both come from. Minho found her sitting in their bedroom, staring at the positive test with unreadable expression. Chioma? He moved toward her carefully, cautiously. What's wrong? Talk to me. She held up the test without speaking. He froze completely. For a long moment, he said absolutely nothing, didn't even seem to breathe. Then, very carefully, he sat beside her on the bed. How do you feel about it, honestly? I don't know yet. Terrified, angry, hopeful, all of it simultaneously. Do you want to keep it? The choice is entirely yours. She looked at him sharply, searching his face. What? I'm asking what you want, Chioma. Not what the contract said originally, not what I demanded before. What do you want for yourself, for your life, for your future? Tears burned behind her eyes, threatening to spill. You'd really let me choose this, even after everything? It's your body, your life, your future ultimately. I won't force you into anything ever again. I swear on everything I have. She was quiet for an impossibly long time, thinking deeply. I think I want this. Not because of contracts or obligations or threats, but because it's ours. Something we created together after everything we've survived. A chance to break the cycles we were both born into, to do better. His hands trembled visibly as he pulled her close. Are you absolutely certain? No, not completely, but I'm choosing it anyway. Choosing to try. They held each other as Seoul glittered outside their windows, 2 broken people trying to build something whole from the pieces. Chioma graduated university 8 months pregnant, her thesis on accessible healthcare in underserved communities, earning highest honors in her program. Minho sat in the audience, pride written across his entire face clearly. 6 weeks later, she gave birth to a daughter. They named her Amara Minji Kang. Amara for Chioma's mother, Minji for Minho's lost sister, a bridge between 2 families, 2 continents, 2 broken bloodlines trying desperately to heal. Minho held his daughter with trembling hands, tears streaming down his face uncontrollably. She's absolutely perfect. She's ours, built from choices, not contracts or coercion.
They launched the Amara Foundation 8 months later, medical clinic and humanitarian organization combined. They built clinics in Lagos, community health centers in Seoul, hospitals in rural Nigeria, treatment facilities for trafficking survivors in Korea, buildings and programs that served people, that healed communities, that actually mattered. They split time between Seoul and Lagos, belonging fully to neither place, and somehow to both simultaneously. Minho transitioned completely out of criminal operations over 2 years. His former associates called him weak, foolish. He called himself free, finally. "Do you ever regret it?" Chioma asked one night, watching him play with Amara on the floor. "Everything you gave up? All that power?" "I gave up power built on suffering and exploitation. I gained a family built on conscious choice and genuine love. That's not sacrifice. That's evolution, growth, becoming better." If you've stayed with us through this entire journey, thank you sincerely. Hit that like button and subscribe to Laura's Love Stories for more complex narratives that challenge you, move you, keep you thinking long after they end. Comment below. What did you think of their journey? Do you believe in second chances for people? Where are you watching from? Until next time, remember you are more than what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. Choose healing, choose growth, choose yourself.